Hi, Peter here, the Maritime Tutor from True North Marine. In this short video today, I want to talk to you about getting a GPH ticket, commonly referred to as GPH, but the official title is General Purpose Hand. Very valuable qualification if you're looking to get into the marine industry, working as crew on a domestic commercial vessel, DCV as it's abbreviated as well. So if you're looking at getting into that sort of career, a great starting point. Also good if you're looking for perhaps a career change. If you're going to move out of the current job role that you're in or the career that you're in, and you want to get out on the water and work. So this video is going to cover uh, the steps in the sense of getting that qualification, but also prioritizing how you undertake those different steps. A lot of people tend to think that it's about enrolling in a course, which you have to do, but it's not necessarily the first step. There are a couple of steps you could do beforehand, which will shorten the whole process for you. So I want to talk about those so that when you finally finish your course and you've got your certificate, you are ready to go. When people tend to do it back to front, it just lengthens the whole process for them. So trying to avoid that with these tips that I'm going to give you today. Okay, we'll get started. So this video is about providing you with some tips in obtaining the general purpose hand qualification, or GPH qualification as it's sometimes abbreviated to, or even abbreviated to deckhand qualification, which is not actually correct because you can work in the interim as well. But GPH will refer to as we go through in the video, which is issued by the Australian Maritime Safety Authority, AMSA. So here's a quick overview of what the video is going to contain. It's going to give you information on what the general purpose hand qualification is, what it allows you to do, what the eligibility requirements are, so what you need to have in addition to completing the course and having the qualification, what other essential certificates should you obtain if you're going to work on a commercial vessel, and what career options are there for you. So here's tip number one, first of all, and we're going to look at the actual training to start with. When you undertake a course or you enroll in a course, it's very rare for that course to be starting tomorrow, for example, or next week, for example. There's going to be some delay. So training organisations usually schedule 2 or 3, sometimes 4 courses a year. You may find some a bit shorter if they have an online component, but if it's face-to-face in a classroom, 2 or 3 is usually going to be the norm. So there's going to be a delay in you getting to that point where you can actually start the course. But you should start other things before then. So if you look on the screen, you'll see that there's a marine radio license. Now, I always put this one as a priority. This should be the very first thing you obtain. And there's a reason for that. Getting a marine radio license is very easy. It only takes literally a few hours to be ready for a final exam, and the exam only consists of 25 questions. They're all multiple choice. The reason for having a marine radio license is simply that on board a vessel, we use marine radios all the time. Portable radios, for example, or bridge-based radios for talking over longer distances. So when you're moving around a vessel, not uncommon to carry a portable marine radio with you. The advantage of having this out of the way is because it is a lifetime license. Once you've got a marine radio license, that's the end of the story. It never expires and you never have to renew it. So this should be really the first step in the whole process. And even recreational boat operators need to have a marine radio license. So even if you're not in the commercial environment, this still would apply in a recreational environment. So that should be the top of the list. And then the next one is a first aid qualification. These have to be renewed every 3 years. It's such an advantage to get it out of the way before you start a GPH course. GPH course is going to take you through other areas of knowledge, seamanship knowledge, workplace safety, fire survival. So you don't really want to add something on top of all of that. So you can get that first aid out of the way very quickly. It's usually a 1-day course. So I recommend those two to be undertaken first. There's just a little bit more information on the marine radio license, and all it's doing is teaching you the channels to use, the phonetic alphabet that's required. So first aid with your CPR component is also a requirement for a GPH. These certificates can usually be done in 1 day. There are many providers out there that you can find locally. Most of them have an online component and then a one-day practical in the classroom. The other requirement, which is relatively new, only started back in 2024, is where AMSA introduced a requirement for general purpose hands to have 5 days sea time experience. This can quite easily be obtained. As a GPH, you're permitted to work on a domestic commercial vessel up to 100 metres in length by what's called general supervision. General supervision is where you received your training, you received a vessel induction, you've undertaken your drills on board, your fire drills, emergency drills, abandonment drills, etc. And you could undertake activities and tasks, anchoring, for example, or mooring, for example, but you're also allowed to work on board a commercial vessel to obtain your 5 days of sea time without a marine qualification. This is where you can be employed under what's called direct supervision. So direct supervision is where you're working with another qualified crew member. They basically are your mentor, your trainer, and at the end of those 5 days, you can obtain a document from the employer to say you've completed those 5 days. So doing this first is a distinct advantage rather than doing it after a course. So what does a general purpose hand certificate allow you to do? First of all, it allows you to work as part of the competent crew on board a domestic commercial vessel up to 100 metres in length. Or that vessel could be up to 3,000 gross tonnes. It also allows you to work on those vessels within Australia's exclusive economic zone, which is known as the EEZ, and that's up to 200 miles from our coastline. So you can work on board those vessels as on deck or in the engine room under general supervision. So you'll be doing tasks, activities, and keeping in regular contact with your supervisor, but you can do tasks and activities without someone actually being with you. That's what general supervision is. There are some eligibility requirements to obtain a general purpose hand certificate. The first one is you have to be at least 16 years of age at the time that your course certificate is issued to you. Once you have that course certificate, you could go on to the AMSA website, amsa.gov.au, and there'll be a form there known as AMSA Form 1850, which is a medical fitness form. It's not onerous, but it does need to be completed. It means that you're certified to work on board a commercial vessel. You need to be able to speak and understand English and also be able to write or read English as well. You need to undertake a training course with an approved and reputable registered training organisation. So if you go to training.gov.au and type in GPH, you'll find a number of organisations there that can complete the training for you. And then, of course, you need to have that sea time. So that's why we recommend doing the sea time first rather than last, so that you're ready to go when you finish your course. The 5 days of sea service or boating experience can be performed under that direct supervision component of the rules. So what are the benefits of having a GPH qualification? Well, it's an entry level into the maritime industry, and it gives you a good opportunity to get a job by being qualified. And it also can result in a higher salary being paid to someone who's able to work under general supervision rather than direct supervision on board a vessel. And of course, being that stepping stone or entry into the marine industry, then it allows you for career advancement, moving up to perhaps a coxswain, NC1 or NC2, or a master under 24. They're all career progression opportunities for you. Now, an additional tip, not necessary at the moment, get that GPH first, but this is for the future. If you're in the industry, then there are higher levels of training you can undertake. STCW just stands for the Standard of Training, Certification and Watchkeeping. This falls under the International Convention. So if you're working on a vessel that is perhaps under foreign flag in Australian waters, sometimes companies lease a vessel. They may want to lease a tug, for example, that's under a Singapore flag, bring it to Australia to do some work. Then the crew on board would need to be STCW qualified. So it's a higher level of training, international training. So therefore you need to do that course. That vessel could be an Australian vessel that's actually operating outside of the 200-mile EEZ, which is now in international waters. So STCW could apply in those circumstances. Not necessary at the moment. I'm not throwing a heap of courses here at the moment. These are ones that you could consider once you've got your GPH. Another certificate you could consider is having advanced firefighting. So this is a course that is often applied to larger vessels. You may undertake training with breathing apparatus, for example. And another course that's applicable to larger vessels is having that survival craft or rescue boat training as well. So if you're on a vessel at sea, for example, and you come across a distressed vessel where you may need to launch a boat from your vessel to proceed to that distressed vessel, then somebody has to drive it, be in charge of it. And these courses teach you the skills and the competency required to operate those rescue vessels. Larger vessels also have security officers on board. One of the crew is designated as a security officer. So there is security awareness training for larger vessels as well. And that's another course that you could consider in the future. So it's important, if you want to be in the maritime industry, that you always look at continually improving yourself, looking how the industry changes, doing courses that might meet those needs, staying competitive on a personal basis where your skills are high and up to date, and obtaining those extra qualifications, allowing you to move up to coxswains, masters, and even an engineer role on board a vessel. So looking much further ahead, but other courses you could take and other positions that would become available could be shoreside superintendents who are highly skilled and knowledgeable in vessel construction, design, maintenance, for example, or a ship's pilot is another shoreside job as well that could be considered if that's the way you want to go. So if it suits, take a screenshot of this particular slide, because these are the steps that you should follow if you're going to get your GPH. These are the tips for you here. So number one, get your marine radio license out of the way. We can do that for you if you choose, truenorthmarine.com.au, and we can have that done in a very short period of time. Get your first aid qualification. That is the unit of competency on the screen. It does change every time they review a training package, but that's the current one at the moment. Obtain your 5-day sea service, operating under that direct supervision component of the rules. Get your GPH course started and completed. And on completion, you should receive 2 certificates. One is your general purpose and certificate. The other one is known as an AMSA mandated practical assessment documents. You need to have both of those, which the training provider will give to you. That's because training covers theory as well as practical assessments as well. If you go to the AMSA website, amsa.gov.au, you fill out the form 1850, the medical form. You also complete and submit AMSA form 426, which is the application form for a GPH qualification, and then continue with your career path with additional courses. So in conclusion, they are the tips for obtaining a general purpose and qualification, a great starting point for a career in the marine industry or a career change. Don't underestimate the value of that qualification in this day and age. You can operate on vessels up to 100 metres in length, and that vessel could be up to 3,000 gross tonnes, operating up to 200 nautical miles offshore in the Australian waters. So thanks for watching, and so keep a lookout for other videos. Maybe a good idea to watch this one through a second time, just so you understand what's in there. Take a few screenshots if necessary, but a lot of valuable information in this video. Good luck with your future.